AMC stock opened the trading day up over 10%, but we have since fallen and now we are only up roughly about 2% at the time of recording this video. Now we have a secret or unscheduled, whatever terminology you want to put on it is all fine with me, but a meeting between Biden and Fed Jerome Powell that starts here in about the next 2 hours, about 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now it is unclear if we are going to get some kind of statement that follows this, but this is kind of what happened during 2018-2019 when Trump threatened to fire Powell if he did not stop raising rates. And given where the public perception is about Biden, the stock market being down, inflation being high, I think there could be some pretty big implications out of this Fed meeting. So I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk about exactly why AMC stock was up so much and why we are falling so much now. We're going to go over all of the data that you guys need to know. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for tuning in no matter where you are, no matter what time it is. It is always a good time to get your financial education on. And I do think this is still going to be a very explosive week for AMC stock. As you guys do know, we have that executive order coming up that does go into effect on Friday, and I think next week is going to be very important as well, because it's not the day the executive order goes into effect when we peak out typically, right? The executive order actually went into effect back here on May 27th, and that's when the rally really started to kick into full gear. So I think it would actually be next week where you do see the big rally, and there's definitely an appetite to buy AMC at these prices. As you guys know, we were up about 10% in pre-market. As soon as we opened, you kind of started to fall as the S&P started to fall as well. I mean, AMC and the S&P look kind of similar in that just beginning of the market sell-off, right? So exactly why AMC stock was actually up today and why there was a lot of enthusiasm around AMC, it's because this Top Gun Maverick flies high as Tom Cruise's biggest box office debut, and pretty incredible numbers. Top Gun debuted at #1 at the domestic box office with 124 million according to ComScore. It's looking at a projected 151 million by Monday. So this is, going to show that hey, people are going to theaters, that the numbers at AMC are probably going to be pretty damn good. So obviously that's why the stock was up 10%. It's not as overvalued as it once was on a book value, right? It's pretty much at a 1 price to sales ratio, which is pretty cheap even given the new initiatives that AMC has done to grow the business and to even diversify into, buying stakes in other companies as well. So definitely looking good, and that's more of a fundamental reason we were up 10%. I would argue as well that there's a lot of people looking forward to this executive order, and probably some hedge funds that are, making positions and trades around this executive order, because I don't think they're necessarily blind to what has happened in the past. And, if you did have a short position on AMC, you might want to hedge that out to try to cap your loss if you don't plan to cover on your short position before the executive order goes into effect. So that is basically that. As far as the Ortex data is concerned, you're looking at 22.85% short interest of free float, 119.8 million shares that are sold short. Cost to borrow max at 11.66%. The cost to borrow average is going up. That's now at 10.3%. Cost to borrow minimum at 1.47%. 100% share utilization, shares out on loan 175.56 million, free flow out on loan about 34%. So there's a lot of short interest, obviously 22, almost 23%, but there's a lot of shares that are out on loan that have not been necessarily sold short as of yet. So there's a lot of potential here to get a lot of short activity, right? Let's not be blind to that, especially around the executive order. But I think given where the markets are at and given what has happened in the past with the executive order, I think it's going to be a lot harder than not for shorts to actually service those margin calls. Now, as far as the interesting flow sentiment, 14 orders totaling 2.89 million, positive order value of 78%. over the past week. 103 orders totaling 48.78 million, positive order value of 59%. So looking good as far as option activity, specifically the bullish option activity, is definitely pretty clear to see today. 78%, that's a pretty good number for positive order value. Now, nonetheless, let's talk about this whole Biden Fed Powell meeting. And this says Biden to meet Fed chair as inflation bites U.S. pockets. And, you know, it says the president's public approval as well. So this is like one of those things where you don't get too often, where, you know, energy prices are up, inflation is up, the stock market's down. Like, if you're not invested in the stock market at all, if you have no money in this, you know, which you guys obviously do, but if you don't, you're still being affected by gas, food prices, and other inflationary things. But if you're invested in the stock market as well, you have a Roth IRA, retirement account of any form, you look at that and you're just getting hit on every different angle. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens out of this meeting, because these meetings do not happen all too often, and usually you can get a change of tone or even a change of policy after the Fed meets with a president, like we seen during 2018 when Trump was literally tweeting about firing Fed Jerome Powell if he did not stop raising rates. So you could definitely see something come out of this, and that's kind of what I expect. I think it might be bullish, if anything, considering core CPI has been coming down. The Fed can't do anything about oil and food prices. The last thing I think they want is super high energy prices, right? Gas prices, food prices, and a stock market that gets absolutely destroyed. Like, just take one or the other at that point, right? So I kind of think this could be bullish, if anything, but totally could be wrong. They might rug pull us. Who knows what they're going to talk about? But I think that's going to be a main focus of markets. Now, as well as that, you do have some economic data as well. You did have a Fed speaker earlier today. Nothing too crazy actually came out of that. You do have some bond auctions here coming out right about now as we are filming this video. And then tomorrow, you do have Bank of Canada interest rate decision, ISM manufacturing PMI, and JOLTS job openings. Those JOLTS job openings can move the market as well. Canada rate decision, that could also be important. And then you do have Fed Williams that speaks tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. as well. You do have some ECB speakers, and that could definitely move the markets. Fed Bullard that also speaks at 1 p.m. Fed Beige Book, API crude oil, stock change, that could be important for oil. But overall, I think this Fed meeting is going to be very important. And then tomorrow, obviously, the Fed speakers, that will also be important. And then on Thursday, you do have ADP employment change. That looks like a high volatility expected catalyst. Fed Logan that speaks, Fed Mester that speaks as well Thursday, 12 p.m. and then 1 p.m. And that's pretty much going to be all as far as important data. Even on Friday, you do have unemployment rate for May, non-farm payrolls for May, ISM non-manufacturing PMI. But that is it for this week. So it's a relatively slow week. Obviously, it's coming off of Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people, sell in May and go away. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. And it wouldn't surprise me to see some lower volume, potentially less volatility here. But even today, it looks like you are still seeing a certain degree of volatility. So we'll see how everything does shake out. But all in all, I'm very bullish about this executive order coming up the rest of this week as well as next week. It's going to be pretty exciting in my personal opinion. Now, as far as the option chain for June 17th, you do have about 230,000 options that are out of the money. For the call side, 18,000 calls that are in the money, 87,000 puts that are in the money, and about 91,000 puts that are out of the money. For July 15th, you have 27,000 calls that are in the money, 289,000 calls that are out of the money, 45,000 puts that are in the money, and 56,000 puts that are out of the money. So, when you have premiums this cheap on AMC stock, like, it's not expensive to trade AMC to play this executive order, catalyst, then you could possibly get a gamma squeeze for the next couple of months, right? Like I've talked about this before, but if you're buying a July, $40 call for like $50 and the stock goes to, $40.50 per share, the market makers have to go out and hedge out even those options that are months down the line, and that's because the premiums are so cheap right now. So I do think we're possibly looking at a little bit of a gamma squeeze, a little bit of a short squeeze until something breaks, and then you do see the shorts have to cover in a massive way. And I think right now, take away Chinese securities as collateral, bond markets in the toilet, stock markets in the toilet, real estate starting to soften, you got a recipe for disaster for those shorts. So that is pretty much going to be all for this video. We'll keep you guys updated if anything comes out of this meeting from Biden and Powell. I think that's possibly going to be the biggest catalyst of this week if we do get information about that. If not, keep in mind that executive order does go into effect on Friday, and then I think next week, that's really when you're going to see, that executive order, if it stays in effect, really have an impact on AMC stock. So that is going to be all for this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, source comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you guys want access to all of my trades in real time, link down below in the pinned comment, and get yourself those free stocks with Webull, Moomoo, and Public. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.